Hello and welcome back to FlexSim Geek. Today, we'll continue with the third and final part of this video series, the fully functional final model. So, let's dive right into it. In the general process flow, I'll add an event-triggered source. Below that, I'll add a breathe activity. I'll rename the event-triggered source to onResourceProcessFinish and set the event as onProcessFinish. I'll assign wafer as the process item and set the operation to assign. After that, I'll create a group and rename it to resource 3, 4 and 5. I'll use the sampler tool to refer to resources 3, 4, and 5. Now, I'll drop a resource to the process flow and name it resource 3, 4 and 5. In the activity pane, I'll refer to the group we just created. Next, I'll drop an acquire resource activity and refer to the resource using the sampler tool, just like this. Inside the acquire activity, under the assign section, I'll set it to token.resource. Now, I'll create another group and rename it to robot 2 and 3. I'll refer to robots 2 and 3 from the 3D model. After that, I'll drop another acquire resource activity and rename it to acquire robot. Inside the acquire resource activity, in the assign section I'll give token.robot. Then, I'll drop a resource to the flow and refer to the robot 2 and 3 group inside it. I'll connect this to the acquire resource activity, just as shown in the video. Next, I'll drop a load activity and rename it to load from resource 1. Inside the load activity, I'll set the task executor as token.robot and the item as token.wafer. Then, I'll drop an unload activity and rename it to unload to resources. In the task executor section, I'll set token.robot. For the item, I'll add token.wafer, and for the station, I'll set token.resource. Since we're referring to resources 3, 4, and 5, I'll change the label to token.resources in both the acquire and unload activities. Next, I'll drop a release resource activity to the flow and name it release robot. As the name suggests, this will release the acquired robot. Inside the activity, I'll assign the resource as token.robot. After that, I'll drop a breathe activity, followed by a wait for event activity. I'll rename it to wait for resource finish. I'll set the object as token.resources and the event as onProcessFinish, as shown in the video. Next, I'll drop another breathe activity. Below that, I'll add an acquire resource activity and drop a resource onto the flow. I'll rename it and reference resource 2 from the 3D model as shown in the video. I'll rename the acquire activity to acquire resource 2 and refer to resource 2 using the sampler tool. Inside the acquire activity pane, I'll change the label name in the assign section to token.resource2. Then, I'll drop another acquire activity and rename it to acquire robots. I'll refer to robot 2 and 3, just like in the video. Inside the acquire activity, I'll assign token.robot. After that, I'll drop a load activity to the flow and rename it load from resource 2. In the activity pane, under task executor, I'll set token.robot, and for the item, I'll set token.wafer. Next, I'll drop an unload activity and rename it unload to resource 2. In the activity pane, I'll set task executor as token.robot, item as token.wafer, and for the station, I'll refer to resource 2, as shown in the video. Then, I'll drop 2 released resource activities. I'll rename the first one Release Robot 2 and 3 and the second one Release Resource. In the Release Robot section, I'll set the resource as token.robot, and in the Release Resource activity, I'll set it as token.resources. After that, I'll add a wait for event activity. In the activity pane, I'll refer to resource 2 and set event to onProcessFinish. Below that, I'll place a breathe activity. Next, I'll place an acquire activity and refer to robot 1, just as shown in the video. I'll rename it acquire robot 1. Inside the assign label section, I'll set it to token.robot. Below that, I'll drop a load activity and rename it appropriately. In the activity section, I'll assign task executor as token.robot and item as token.wafer. Below that, I'll drop another breathe activity, and then an unload activity. I'll rename it and, in the activity section, assign task executor as token.robot, item as token.wafer, and for the station, I'll give token.wafer.block, which refers to the starting loading location. After the unload, I'll drop an assign label activity and rename it. Inside the activity, I'll add a label named exit time with a value model.time. I'll also add another label named block with a value token.wafer.block. Next, I'll add another assign label activity and rename it. I'll add a label named process wafer quantity, and for the value, I'll use an increment label. I'll assign this label to token.wafer.block. After that, I'll drop a destroy object activity and set the object as token.wafer. Then, I'll drop a release resource activity and rename it. Inside the activity pane, I'll set the resource as token.robot. I'll drop another release resource activity, rename it, and set the resource as token.resource2. After that, I'll add a breathe activity followed by a decide activity. I'll rename it and choose conditional decide. Inside the condition, I'll enter token.block.processed wafer quantity equals 25. Next, I'll drop a move object activity along with a sync into the flow. I'll connect them from the decide activity, just like in the video. Then, I'll place a sync in the 3D model. In the move object activity, I'll set the object as token.block and the destination as the sync placed in the 3D model. Okay, now let's run the model and test it. As you can see, the model is running properly. As you can see, the robot is picking up the material from the loading location and placing it onto the processors and between the processors, just like we wanted. Okay, that's all for this video. I hope you gained some valuable insights from it. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.